Good evening, baseball fans, and welcome to episode 26 of season 2 of Sports Talk with Rags. And tonight, here we are joined here by the head baseball coach of Post 280 here in Chesapeake, American Legion, Larry Bowles. Coach Bowles, how you doing this evening?
Doing good right now. I'm still on a little bit of a high, so
Right.
doing good over here.
Yes. Well, hey, before we talk about your American Legion team and the run that you guys have been on here in the last few summers, let's start at the beginning. I know that both of us are Chesapeake natives, but what got your interest here in playing competitive baseball?
Well, interestingly enough, I grew up in Western Branch. I know you're a Western Branch guy. I was in Western Branch until about fourth grade, and the fourth grade we moved out to Great Bridge area, and I had already started playing t-ball in Western Branch, and one of the really good baseball players that came out of Western Branch back in the day, Walt Bondurant.
Yeah.
His dad was my first coach for t-ball, and I fell in love with it immediately. To the point of watching it every night and collecting every baseball card, and just became obsessed with it. And then came over to Great Bridge, and you back then, everybody played rec. So
Right.
you went over to play Great Bridge Rec League, and it was so competitive.
Yeah.
You know, it was. I mean, the talent was unbelievable. So it was definitely easy to become addicted, to the sport and love the sport, and I just always have. So
Right. Well, hey, so growing up in Great Bridge and playing high school baseball, let's see what was after high school. Were you able to play in college?
I was a little bit. I got a taste. I went to Virginia Wesleyan for a year. Interestingly enough, I went there thinking I was going to be an outfielder, and I was an outfielder there for about a week. And they were thin on some pitching, especially relief pitching. And Chris Parsons is the pitching coach at the time. And he says, "You ever pitched before?" And I said, "Yeah, I pitched growing up, all stars and different things. I pitched. I didn't pitch for Great Bridge High School, really. I think I got one inning in a game that didn't matter." So he said, "Come over and throw a bullpen." I went over and threw a bullpen. He walked away and came back and said, "Yeah, you're not going back in the grass." And they needed a relief pitcher. So I had the most relief innings on the team as like that spot reliever when we're in a jam, just throw somebody out there. I was that guy as a freshman.
All right.
And never swung a bat. Never caught a fly ball, never swung a bat. Just a middle relief guy for a year. I left there. I attempted to walk on at Old Dominion. That's where I ended up getting my degree. And I did a walk on at Old Dominion. And in the fall, I was able to make the fall team as a walk on and went through the fall. And then I had some things come up at the end of the fall with health and things like that kind of derailed that. But Coach Guzzo was amazing. He was there at the time, and I really appreciate that fall there at ODU. With them. And that was the end of it.
Yes.
And then I got into coaching
Right.
smartly.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's see American American Legion Chesapeake Post 280. I remember American Legion ball. I mean, not my problem was I couldn't hit, but definitely with
A
my
lot of people.
brother pitching and playing competitive baseball, with following him, So I've heard of American Legion, but it just seems like here nowadays it's not too many. So tell us here about Chesapeake Post 280.
Yeah. So I played post 280
Right.
back in 1994 and 95.
Mhm.
And we had some really strong teams back then. That was back when, like you said, everybody played American Legion. And times I think it's been exactly about 10 years now. I think it's about 2012 was the first indication that things had changed
Right.
as far as showcase and travel baseball versus Legion baseball. But played in 94, 95, and we were fortunate enough to, I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate enough, but we were the state runner up
Right.
2 years in a row. I'll never forget we lost to Bedford Post, and they had Brandon Eames was the pitcher that we lost to.
Pretty good.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good guy to lose to. Yeah. I mean, later on, at the time you hate it, but then a few years later, you're like, yeah, that's the guy we lost to. All right, feel a little bit better now. Right. So I started coaching in 2004, Indian River Junior Varsity. So I got into teaching, and I started 2004 JV Indian River. By 2007 or 8, I talked to Steve West, Coach Steve West, about doing something in the summer with the guys. And I said, hey, I don't mind running a summer team for the guys. So we started out in 2007 with a strictly Indian River American Legion team and just us. And then we did that in 2008 and we did that in 2009. And we started to get really competitive. And I don't know if you remember back, but in 2008 was the one year that Indian River took a team to the state tournament.
Right.
One time they had a state team. And then in 2009, the team was really good. Went to a regional and lost to Menchville, who ended up winning it all. And they had those pro guys, Jarrell Cotton and these guys like that. And then in 2010, we had most of the Indian River guys wanting to play again, but we added in a couple of guys from Norfolk Collegiate, and we got Cody Cox from Grassfield, and we got some strong guys in with our Indian River guys, and we just found magic. And we won our district, went to the state tournament. We lost the first game of our state tournament and had to win 6 games in 4 days, and we pulled it off.
Right.
We won 6 games in 4 days, and we couldn't believe it. We won a state championship and couldn't believe it. And, that was amazing enough. We were amazed to make states. It was the first time. So we win states, and we go to the Mid-Atlantic Regional at the time was in Pennsylvania. And we didn't stop being hot. We went 5-0. And made it to the American Legion World Series. So I'm wearing this shirt for good luck for this week.
All right.
This is the shirt from 2010. But once we did that, we made that World Series in 2010. Back then, it was all the way in Spokane, Washington, is where it was that year. Right. But since then, it was addictive to me because the experience of going to the World Series and how American Legion treats the guys and everything, it's an amazing experience. And so 2011, it was easy to put a team together because guys wanted to play. And then it's just snowballed and kept going since then.
Yeah. And I see, just here recently, I saw there through Tim Agresti and, Cody Schneider, sharing or liking, I saw that you guys were up at George Washington. And I know that my sister lives in Northern Virginia, so I know that their field is actually in Arlington. But so you guys won a state champion, a state title, and what? Now you guys are getting ready to go to Morgantown?
Yeah, we have a charter bus arriving at the post at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay.
To take us out to Morgantown, West Virginia. That's where the Mid-Atlantic Super Regional is going to be. And we travel during the day. We do a team check-in, and then there's going to be a opening ceremonies and a banquet for the guys tomorrow night. Then our first game will be 1 p.m. on Wednesday. We play the Delaware state champion. But yeah, so the cool thing about this year was we won last year.
Right.
We won the Virginia State Championship last year in 21, and we actually only brought back 3 guys from that squad. So we kind of had to rebuild the roster. And these guys, when I was recruiting them and talking to them about American Legion Baseball, they're like, what's that? Most of all these guys don't know what American Legion Baseball is anymore. Unfortunately, again, showcase travel. And that has its place. But once they started playing, they still didn't really get it. There was a point in the season where we lost a couple of games to Colonial Heights, and Colonial Heights they were chippy from the moment we started playing them because we beat them for the region last year and we beat them for the state title actually last year. And so they were ready to play us. They had circled it. And then I have a bunch of guys that weren't there and they don't know why these guys are, chirping at them hardcore.
Right.
So after the game, Colonial Heights is hyped that they beat us. And our guys are like, you won an American Legion game. What do you... So that kind of worried me for a second. I was like, they're not really, they don't see any value in this yet. And then we go to the state tournament this past week. Right. And by the third game, they're like, Coach, this is awesome. This is great. And So now they're all into it. And I told him the experience only gets better and better. The way you get treated at a super regional and the World Series now, the way they do it compared to 2010, they go all out. Expenses paid by American Legion. I tell the guys, it's your chance for a couple weeks to get treated like a pro.
Yeah.
You know, they get charter buses, hotel rooms paid for, meal money every day. You make a World Series and they have a parade. They shut down the whole town. They do a concert and they bring a music act in. I think Josh Turner's the music act. And so it's a whole experience. And you know, when you're recruiting the guys and giving them that, they're like, yeah, they're thinking it's far off.
Right.
Fetched. And now here we are. So they're into it now.
Well, you know, the other thing is, I mean, yes, you and I are around the same age. So, you know, you play all-stars, you travel, and, you know, the league, I mean, yes, parents pay, but, you know, the league also helps. Well, you know, I mean, I'm glad that Post 280 is going to Mid-Atlantic region, but, you know, what's the cost, or does the Post, you know?
It's all covered by national.
It's
all covered by National American Legion. Once you get past your state tournament, well, the state tournament, the hotels are covered for by the state. It used to be they covered meals. That's kind of, you know, changed a little bit. And so our Post takes care of the guys, which is great. I have a great athletic officer, Ed Witkowski. Joe Evans was before him. I got to shout out Joe Evans because he was my man, doing it for 20 some years. He was the athletic officer for the Post when I played in the 90s, and he just stepped away from it last year. And I couldn't have built this without Joe Evans. But they've done a great job of taking care of the players when we had to. But when you get to this point, you know, the super regionals, everything is covered by the National American Legion. Your meals, your when we get there, they're going to supply us with a 12-passenger van to get around town. You get a couple of tournament hosts, and they're like, do you need anything from the store? Do you need clothes washed? They take care of you. So, like I told them, they get treated like pros for the next couple weeks if we keep winning.
So, you know, I see that, you know, you have some Hickory kids, you know, Maureen, Nansen River, of course, Great Bridge. Also, you know, I guess give a little shout out there to David Mitchell. I see some IWA kids, and I know Trevor Mason. He played for my brother when he was growing up. But you know, you definitely have some you know, private school, public school, you know, representatives there on the team.
That's right. True American Legion style, mixed group. And I'll say, you know, obviously the Hickory, Grassfield, Great Bridge guys know each other. And to a certain extent, they know Maury guys. And it's different from back in our day, too, because of the showcase and the travel. A lot of these guys know guys from other schools. When we were in high school, you know, the guys at Indian River or Western Branch or whatever, they were, you know, I didn't like them because they were our enemy. I didn't know them personally. And, you know, now these guys, they know each other. They text each other from, I know him from that team I played on in that team. So it's kind of interesting. But the part that I will throw in is what you said, the Isle of Wight guys, because most of the team knew each other coming in, and I knew them and I knew what they could do. But the Isle of Wight guys, I didn't really know until we added them in. And they've been just phenomenal. And the guys got to know them really quick, and they just blended in with the guys so well. And they've played great baseball. They're well coached. Coach Mitchell does a great job out there with those guys. And
and I guess also have to give a shout out there to Mark Stufel, as I see there's a couple of Nansen River kids, and I'm sure that he likes sitting in the stands there, as I see his sons on the team. You know, and Gavin Whitehurst, you know, there for Greenbrier Christian, you know, his dad and my wife, they went to school together at Lake Taylor, you know. So you know, just, and then what about the coaches that help you out?
So the coaches that help me out are an interesting group. Tim Agresti played Legion for me in 2011 and 12. He was on our 2011 state championship team. We've been fortunate to win 5 since 2010. We won in 2010, 11, 15. We won the junior state championship, and then the last 2 years, 11 and 21 and 22. But he was on the 11 team, played again in 12, And then after he quit, he loved it so much he wanted to come help in the summer with it.
Yeah.
And he's been around since. Michael Johnson is my brother-in-law, but he also was my junior varsity coach when I was the head coach at Oscar Smith High School for those years that I was there. Right. And then my two that have helped me the most this year, that have been there with me thick and thin, and they've really got into it. They've been around for the last 2 years helping me out, and that is Clayton Inskeep. He was on the 2010 Indian River team. He was on the high school team for Indian River that did so well in 08, 09, 10.
Right.
And he's been helping me out. And Matt Monteith has been phenomenal. He's been helping me out too. He was a former player of mine from Oscar Smith. Right. And he's one of those guys like me. He just is a baseball nerd. He loves everything about baseball. He can talk about baseball all day and all night. But the great thing about those assistant coaches is with this team and the way I design it and the way I set it up and what I want from this team is I want it just to be number one, fun.
Yeah.
And that includes, I mean, you're going to have fun when you win. So winning obviously is a big part of it when we put together a strong team and chase these World Series. But we try and have as much fun as possible. And these guys help me with that. Those 4 guys, they help the bench stay loose, and the guys, so they've been phenomenal and big help.
Yeah. And for, the listeners out there, I mean, hey, American Legion ball, I mean, right here, over the years that post 280, I mean, almost 70 kids have gone on to play college, and 6 have signed professional contracts. So it's
our newest one, Jimmy Loper. Jimmy Loper played for us in 2016, and now his younger brother's on the team this year.
Oh, wow.
Bobby Loper from Hickory. So. Yeah, so of course, Bobby for the last 2 weeks, has been like, I don't know if my brother just got signed by the Mets. I don't know I don't know if he's been reminding it. So he's really proud of his brother, and he's following his footsteps.
Well, that's good. Now, when you go to Morgantown, I mean, is it like other regional tournaments where it's double elimination?
Yeah. We'll go in there. We've got double elimination. Like I said, we start out with the Delaware state champion. We're matched up, win or lose. We play the winner or the loser of the Pennsylvania state champion team from Phillipsburg and Morgantown. Okay. So the host post Morgantown is in that other matchup, and that'll be our route through there. I know Morgantown has a lot of history too. They've been a really strong American Legion post throughout the years. And Pennsylvania, that's a funny thing. Pennsylvania American Legion hasn't dropped off much. They still have hundreds of teams up in Pennsylvania, hundreds. Wow. And they've always been that way. They used to have like 300 and plus when we started doing this, in 2010. Right. They're still in the hundreds. So it's really popular up there. So good baseball comes out of there.
Well, that's good. And what, let's see, is there a website or anything to keep track of the regional tournament?
Yes. So I've found a couple things myself just in the last couple of days. Obviously, I encourage people to follow us on Twitter, 280 Baseball, because as I was saying earlier, one of the things about having fun this summer, something we came up with last year, I just spitballed an idea. Yeah, our post-game interviews that we do. I encourage people to watch those. The guys have so much fun doing them. They make me crack up every time they do them. I can go back and watch them a couple times and laugh every time. It all feeds into the concept of what we want. We want the guys to have fun. That's the thing about American Legion, and why I keep this going and why I keep pushing to do this is because these guys get run through the ringer nowadays. If you think about it, like different than we did. We go play ball, come home, watch TV, play, and then in the off season we do something else. We go play. These guys are so regimented now with they've got to be lifting and they've got to be doing these kind of things, and they're putting so much extra time and work and all these things into this goal of getting some kind of scholarship or making a college team. And they go to these showcases and they have to show off their skills, and there's that pressure to be watched and seen. And along the way, a lot of times they forget what it was like to be 10 years old and make the all-star team and play in an all-star tournament and the fun of playing baseball. And that's what I try and do with the Legion team here is I try and make it as fun as possible. And you'll see the guys having fun if you go to that Twitter or 280 Twitter. You'll see those post-game videos. But other places where you can follow the action, I found, and I shared it with our parents earlier. If you go to Legion Baseball, the official Legion Baseball website, and you scroll down to tournaments, and then you go to regional tournaments, you click on that, and you can pull up the Mid-Atlantic, and it will follow every game pitch by pitch, kind of like a Game Changer iScore kind of thing. It goes pitch by pitch. I did see the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania's Twitter. They had found a link to, I guess, Morgantown Post 2 has a YouTube page.
Okay.
Where they do live feeds. They did live feeds of the state tournament. They hosted their state tournament, and they had live feeds. So there might be live feeds of the action if you go to look up Morgantown Post 2 on YouTube. So that was two ways I know.
Okay.
Our Twitter. So
yeah, and going back to having fun, and I'll bring up my wife. We went to Baltimore on Thursday to take my sister's boys to Orioles Rays, and Brett Phillips, he's got a phrase, baseball is fun, and I think nowadays, I mean, you're a teacher and a coach, and I think these athletes, that are high school getting ready to go to college, they have to know that they are cared about and have fun, because I know that it's definitely, there's been some stories where with mental, and so you definitely want to have the team mentality.
Yeah, and that was one of the biggest things last year, honestly. So there was no high school season in 2020. There was no Legion season in 2020. And for the Hickory guys in particular from last year's team that we had, I was determined to put together a Legion team last year and include as many Hickory guys as possible, because that 2020 Hickory team was loaded. They were destined to compete for a state championship in high school, and they didn't get that opportunity, and that was such a rough year for everybody. But I couldn't imagine being a senior in high school in that year. You have a good team and you miss your senior year altogether. So we had a lot of Hickory guys on the team last year that would have been on that 2020 team. And when we won that state title, it meant a little extra to me, and obviously it meant a lot to them that we got them one. I was like, all right, you got yourself a state championship. It's not quite, it's not the VHSL state championship, but it was really, really great. And like I said, you're right. The mental part of the game, there's so much stress on these guys from every angle nowadays. Like I said, the thing that's changed from my day and your day is this pressure to get a scholarship, this pressure to, play Division I baseball. This is the opposite of that for a year. And I tell them that. And the other part of it is too, most of our roster is going to be the seniors who graduated this year. That's what most of our roster is made up of. And, the other side of that coin is most of our roster is signed to a school to play this fall. We have 13 of our 18 guys are going to play ball somewhere. And I tell them too, it's going to change when you get there. College is not like high school. It's a job. It's a job, and you can lose your job. You have to put in the work. Nothing's guaranteed. And the fun that you have in college is the fun you make with your teammates. The game is not going to be as fun as it was. It's going to be work. It's going to be a job. It's going to be a grind. And so I tell them, let's have a summer where you can just have fun playing the game, playing with buddies from your team, playing with buddies from other schools that you make. And that's what it's all about for me. And we've been fortunate enough to win along the way, doing it. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Winning does add a little bit, but, I do see with the roster that you sent to me, majority of them are 20, 22, 23, and then there's one or two 24 kids. But, so, if a listener out there for next year, I mean, do you guys have tryouts, or does it kind of depend on?
What's been interesting? Yeah, it's been interesting. The way we do it, we actually next year, and this is kind of big news. We are planning right now. I'm planning on us doing 2 teams next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm planning on us having two teams. The interest has gotten high enough to where I think we can do 2 teams. I want to bring it back as much as possible in the area, and our post can support more than 1 team. That's not a thing. So, I want to push for that next year. We've gotten a lot more interest, especially since last year. But usually what happens with these teams is we put a team together, they have a fun summer, and the guys that are age eligible to come back, they start recruiting for us.
Right.
And I'll fill in the gaps. They'll recruit a guy, and then I'll get a hold of the guy and give him the details of the perks of American Legion and the things that are amazing. Like if you win a World Series, and I don't know, what happens if you win a World Series? That's the ultimate goal, because that's unbelievable. But I fill in those gaps, and that's where we kind of fill in the roster. The players mostly do it, and that's what I want, because I want them picking guys that they want to play with. And that's how it works out perfectly that way. And they're going to be picky too, because they want to win. So they want, this guy's a really good ball player. I want to play with him, but he's also a cool guy. And so we've been fortunate to do it that way as well. But the interest has spiked, since last summer, to the point where I really do think, and we have 13 guys from this roster that can come back next year. So a lot of this team, that's what's great about us as far as we are now, is we can bring this back and then add a few pieces and be even more scary in 23. So, that's how we do it typically. And it doesn't stop. Like I start recruiting for the next year as soon as we finish in August. I start, who are y'all thinking of? And then I send out feelers to guys, and it really cranks up in the spring. Once we start high school ball, I'm texting them on the weekends and things like that. But we haven't had a tryout yet. We might next year. Next year.
And where's y'all's home games? Is it just the Chesapeake Field that you can find, or?
Yeah, it's been flexible. I kind of reach out to different coaches different years for field availability. When I was at Oscar Smith, obviously as the varsity coach, we used that field. Back in the day, we used Indian Rivers Field. This summer, we used Great Bridges Field. I'll shout out to Donnie Evans. He was one of our players, Trenton Evans. His dad's taking care of the field out there for Big Country, for Great Bridge. And
well, I know him as Ken since I've known him all his life. I don't really know the nickname, but
that's what the players call. Yeah, Ken's phenomenal. He let us. We're blessed to he let us use their field this summer. And like I said, had somebody help him take care of it for us. Last year, Hank Kraft over at Hickory let us use his field last summer with all the Hickory guys on the team. And, so we kind of mix it up where we can get field availability from year to year.
Well, I certainly appreciate your time, Larry. And, this platform, I try to reach out to, different local sports, but with knowing Tim Agresti, Cody Schneider, knowing Pat, since my nephews have gone to Greenbrier and seeing some Greenbrier kids play for you in the last few summers. I mean, I've seen you guys play well, and I've seen some of those post game interviews about having fun and everything. So I wanted to, give you guys a shout out, and so I certainly appreciate
it. We've been trying. Look, we call it the guys last year. We decided we were going to call it the Bang Energy 90s Player of the Game, and we do the post game interview. The Bang, because we were trying to get sponsored by Bang Energy. So Bang Energy, if anybody has any connections, we're trying. They do the interview holding a Bang Energy drink instead of a microphone, and but we call it the 90s Player of the Game. We keep a chart. We have this fun little chart where how many 90s did you get us today? And a 90, a double would be 2 90s, a triple's 3 90s.
Right.
Even a sacrifice bunt, if there's a guy on first and second, you bunt 2 guys over, that's 2 90s. You got a team. So we do this little chart, walks, everything, anytime you get over 90. And so the guy that got us the most 90s, we call it the Bang Energy 90s Player of the Game. And then the interviews got more and more creative, and they have a great time with it. And I will say this before I go, I just wanted to say the piece from earlier. I didn't finish that part about the dream for this summer and every summer is we make the World Series next week. If we can survive this week coming up and make it to that World Series, this is the ultimate thing that all these guys really are playing for is if you win the World Series, the entire team and coaching staff is taken to Game 4 of the MLB World Series this fall. Everything paid for by American Legion, flight, hotel, meals. You are on the field before the game for BP. You're on the field. They put you on the Jumbotron as the American Legion national champions before the field, and then you get to watch the game. And so that's the one that the guys are like, what? Oh, we gotta
Right.
win. You know, we gotta win
Yeah.
to go to an actual World Series game 4. So that
Yeah, and just I mean, you have to. I mean, I know you take one game at a time, but where is the 2022 American Legion World Series?
so interestingly enough, this one here was in Spokane, Washington. We had to fly
Right,
across the country all
right,
the way to
right.
Spokane. The very next year in 2011, they built a permanent home, kind of like Williamsport. They built one in Shelby, North Carolina,
Okay,
which is good for our local folks. I think it's about a 5 or 6 hour drive. But
right,
so if we are fortunate to make it next week, it'd be great to get some local support, go down there. And the games are televised on ESPNU.
right.
So, that's the other nugget for the guys, to get to play on TV. Um, yeah, it's in Shelby, North Carolina, and they've kept adding to that stadium. It's as nice as a minor league stadium now. It's really, really nice. I think they just installed the LED lights, and they've extended the grandstand and everything at the stadium this year, and did upgrades down in Shelby, North Carolina. But they do it right, and here's to hoping we can make it. Here's to hoping we can make it.
Well, you know what, Larry? I mean, and then also going back where you said that you were looking for Hickory there during the pandemic. I mean, with having Hickory, Maury, Nansen River, I mean, there it is, Group 5. I think
Yeah.
the region is like a state tournament,
Right.
there with
Right. Right.
those schools.
I'm telling you. Well, and that's the thing too, is the guys don't realize too, is we just went to the state tournament. And even when we were in the state tournament this past week, I had to kind of remind them, I'm like, guys, I know you're looking at this like, well, it's not exactly the same as a high school state championship. I'm like, guys, it's actually, these teams you're playing are better than the high school teams you played
Right.
against. The Leesburg team that we played for the championship, we faced a UMBC commit who was 90-91. We had a Bridgewater. They followed him behind him with a Norfolk State commit. Then we faced a Bridgewater commit. But we faced last year when we went to the Super Regional last year in the Mid Atlantic. The teams we played, we faced a Penn State commit, a Clemson commit. There were 2 Campbell commits, a William and Mary, University of Delaware. I mean, there were phenomenal talent, because, like you said, it's a hodgepodge. It's not one high school team. It's the best from an area, and so they don't realize until they get to this point in the state in the Mid-Atlantic, they're like, oh, wow, we're playing some legit teams. But other people can say that about us, because, like you said, all those high schools are phenomenal programs run by phenomenal coaches. And so we're fortunate in our area. And that's the point, is I want to show off to the world what kind of baseball comes out of the 757. And that's what we're trying to represent, is our area, Hampton Roads, on a national level next week. So.
Yeah, and for also listeners out there, I mean, you got DeGrom and Scherzer and Corey Seager and others that came through Legion Ball. Larry, definitely appreciate your time. You guys have a safe trip going out to Morgantown, and let's see. So opening ceremonies there tomorrow evening, and then first game there 1 p.m. on Wednesday.
Yes. Yep. Looking forward to it. I hope you guys stay hot. They're excited.
All right. All right. Well, good luck to y'all's team. And when I post this episode, I'll share where people can go and follow you guys here during the tournament. So
Awesome.
good luck, and go Post 280 baseball.
Go Post 280.
All right,
Thanks.
everybody. So
Thanks for
hey,
having me.
it's a wrap here, as we had Coach Bowles there, the head coach of Chesapeake Post 280, and get ready for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Tournament. All right. Good night.
All right. Thanks again.
Yep.